We all have a story that controls our life. There's a story that we've been telling ourselves for a long time. And a lot of times it starts in childhood and the story progresses and we add new things to the story and it builds and it builds. But when you're younger, you're told things, you're taught things, you absorb things. And from the age of 0 all the way up to 7 years old, you're just absorbing everything. You're taking everything in. You're trying to learn. You're taking in experiences. And then you start to wire those into your nervous system. And they become a program that you start running. And then we build stories on top of that. And those stories become the narration of our life. And most of us don't even know this story. Most of us live every single day not aware of the story that we are playing. Not aware of the story that we are telling ourselves. Because it's not in our conscious mind. It's sitting in our subconscious mind. Which runs automatically. Which we don't have to think about. So like when you're breathing right now. Your heart's beating right now. You don't have to think about it. Your subconscious is taking care of it. It's a habit. And you have to get very quiet if you want to figure out what this story is. I've been chipping away at it, and I still won't say I know my whole story, but I'm chipping away at it, and I'm starting to realize some of the things that I've been saying for so long. And when you continue to say these things over and over again and tell yourself the same story and rehearse the same thing in your head over and over again, it becomes part of your personality. It becomes part of who you are. Sometimes it causes anxiety. Sometimes it causes self-sabotage. Sometimes it's good and it causes great emotions. Some people have wonderful stories and that's why they're successful. But a lot of us have these stories that limit us, that keep us stuck where we're at. We start to get success and we pull right back to where we're comfortable. Sometimes we feel more comfortable living in anxiety. Sometimes we feel comfortable living in stress or fear or guilt. And we continue to play the same scene over and over and over again. And that's why meditation is so hard. If you ever try to meditate for the first time, your mind starts going everywhere. It starts telling you to stop. Hey, you're hungry. Hey, you got so many things to do today. You actually think you're going to be able to meditate? Your mind starts firing off all these things that you have to get done. You have a whole bunch of things to do. You don't have time to meditate. Your back's itching. You got something to do. You got to go to the bathroom. You got to brew your coffee. It's attacking you. The reason being is it's used to being in stress or anxiety at that moment. If you're always used to waking up in the morning and checking Instagram and getting that dopamine hit, that's what your body's used to. So when you meditate, it's like, whoa, what's going on right now? Or maybe you're used to driving your car and hitting traffic and getting all fired up and upset. And when you meditate, your body's like, what are you doing? This is not who you are. This is not what we do. This is not what we're used to. See, these patterns are so ingrained in us that they become comfortable. They become our safe spot. And even though you don't like anxiety, your body is used to it. So when you start to make that progress and you get in that good relationship, or you make that progress and you start to make a little bit more money, you'll self-sabotage. And I know this because I still do this. I still self-sabotage. I still have these moments where I'm going back to the old story. But each day I get better at figuring this out. I sit down and I'll journal about it. I'll write about it. I'll think about it. I'll get into quiet. Because you can't hear what that second voice is saying unless you give yourself space. Unless you give yourself that quiet time. And right now, guys, I'm sharing some of the stuff that I'm learning on the fly. Some of the stuff that I'm improving in on the fly. And I can tell you, I feel better each day that I work on this and I understand myself a little more. And being able to journal and write things out in real time when something happens, when you get rejected, when something doesn't go your way, when you get fired, where you lose a client, when those things happen, instead of going to your original coping mechanism, which would be scrolling, which might be going out for a couple of drinks, watching TV all night, binging Netflix. Instead of doing that, stop and be like, okay, I understand I have this craving to go do this thing all of a sudden because I just got rejected or I just failed at something. Okay, that's my coping mechanism. I want to go watch TV all night, or I want to go binge eat food. I want to go get a whole bunch of ice cream. That's going to make me feel better. And that's what your body is saying. That's what your mind is saying. That's what your subconscious is telling you to do. But instead, if you can disrupt that pattern, you take a moment, you close your eyes, you take a deep breath in, you just relax your body, slow it down. Let's process what just happened. I got rejected. They said no. I got fired. All right, why? What does this mean? What am I feeling? And if you can allow those emotions to come in and sit there, you're making progress. Because most people are going to go straight for the distraction, straight for the dopamine, straight for that thing that is going to make them feel better about themselves and take their mind off of the thing that just happened. But the problem is, if you never confront these feelings and you just continue to suppress them or repress them, they just keep coming back. And okay, this time you went out and drank and you felt a little better, and the next day you're a little hungover, but that anxiety is going to come back 2 days from now. That feeling of not being enough is going to come back in a couple days when that alcohol wears off, when you're done binging the TV, and it's going to keep coming back, and you're going to keep going back to that same coping mechanism or another one, and you get into a cycle, and then you lose control of who you are and what you do. And then you're just a cycle of patterns of coping. But instead, if we can slow down, stop, sit, journal, meditate, take a walk, do some breath work, you can make massive changes. But most people are scared. Most people are scared to face their feelings. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It is scary. I've done it. I've done that work. I've had nights sitting in pain, allowing these feelings to come in. But you know what? If you don't allow them to come in, they just keep on coming back, and you never get past, you never have a breakthrough. And then you're controlled by these emotions your entire life. So instead of going for the quick fix, going for that instant gratification, if you can do the challenging thing and sit there, invite your emotions in, allow them to be there, you can slowly start to let go of them. They'll slowly start to lose the power over you. You'll no longer have to go straight for that instant dopamine hit. And this is what growth is. Growth is doing something different in response to something happening to you. We have stuff happening in our environment all the time. And a lot of times we're just reacting. We don't even think, we just go. Our subconscious tells you, boom, 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 go do this. And we're just constantly reacting to every little stimuli that comes in. But instead, if you can learn how to respond. And what is responding? It's just taking a second to process before you make a decision. Instead of just automatically reaching for your phone. Instead of just automatically texting that person. Instead of just automatically doing the thing, turning on the TV, or reaching your hand in the fridge. You take a second, you think, and you ask why. And what is the emotion that I'm feeling? And if you can ask yourself, why am I doing this and what is the emotion that I'm feeling? Your life is going to start to change because you're going to become more conscious and aware. You're also going to be able to start to dissolve these negative feelings. And if you can do this on a consistent basis, you'll continue to grow, you'll continue to improve, you'll continue to feel better. But the best part is you can start to hear this voice. You can start to hear this story that you've been telling yourself. So this story might be, you're not that smart. Or you're not good looking enough. Or you don't have enough experience. Or you're a loser. And this story you keep telling yourself over and over and over again. And you don't actually hear it, but it's that voice in the back of your head that's telling you. And then you react on that. So when we get in that quiet, you understand, all right, this is what I'm telling myself. And then you can start to ask yourself, is this even true? And you can go through a process of breaking that limiting belief, because everything you do is based off your belief system. You have these certain beliefs, and these beliefs control your actions. Everything you do is because you believe it's going to do something good for you. You believe you're going to feel better. You believe it's going to improve your life. You believe that it's going to work out in a good way for you. You wouldn't do it if you thought it was going to be a negative result. You actually believe it's going to help in some way. That's why you're doing it. So right now, your belief system might be leading to actions that are not good for you, that you don't even want, but you're comfortable with them. I remember a point in my life, I said, why do I even binge drink? I don't even like doing it, but why do I do it? And I had no clue why. I was like, why do I just keep on doing this? But it was a way to deal with my feelings and suppress them. Instead of sitting at home by myself on a Friday night, I could go out and drink and hang out with people. And then I didn't have to think about my thoughts or my feelings. And that's what we do when we use a coping mechanism. It's to drown it out. It's to distract us. But now that we understand we have this one story, let's go ahead and change the story. That's the next step. You have the ability to change your story. Now you have the ability to write any story that you want. And you can change and flip and start telling yourself something else. And it has to be repetitive. You have to continue to remind yourself to do it. And you got to say it with emotion. You got to mean it. And if you can start to write it out, visualize it, talk about it, you're going to start to ingrain this new story. But first you have to let go of the old story. You can't replace the old story with a new story until you let go. And the only way to let go is allow those emotions of guilt, of shame, of whatever those negative feelings are to come up, release them, let them go, and then replace with a new empowering story. Once you replace with that new empowering story, you're on your way to change. You're on your way to massive change. But when you create this new story, it's not going to be easy. There's going to be resistance. When you first tell yourself this new story, you're going to have that feeling in your throat that tightens up. Maybe your temples are going to feel some pressure. Maybe your heart's going to skip a beat because it doesn't feel natural. It doesn't feel like it's something that you can do because you've been telling yourself this other story so many times, and this sounds so crazy and so different that it's really uncomfortable. So you're going to have that resistance. But then you can stop again and say, why do I have a resistance for me being successful? Why do I have resistance to me having a good relationship? Why do I have resistance to getting that job? What is that resistance there for? And what is that resistance? And then again, you can go into the quiet. You can meditate. You can sit with it. You can write it out. You can journal about it. And figure out why. And Simon Sinek talked about the 6 levels of why. That's a powerful exercise. You can go through and ask yourself why. So you can ask yourself why. Why do I want that relationship? Maybe because I don't want to be alone. Why don't I want to be alone? Because I don't feel good while I'm alone. Why don't I feel good when I'm alone? Because I beat myself up and say I'm not worthy of anything. Why do I think I'm not worthy? And you can keep asking yourself why. The 6 layers of why. Getting down to that 6th reason is usually the main reason you want to be in that relationship. It's not the first one about not being alone. There's a much deeper why. And try that exercise when you want something new and you feel like you have this resistance to it. Because a lot of times when we do want something new, there is a big resistance. And you don't know why until you ask yourself why. And all the stuff that I talked about today is just listening to yourself. It's just eliminating distractions. And I have a 3-day dopamine detox that I do for free. You can sign up for it in my bio. I'll drop the link in the show notes. But what you want to do is just get away from the distractions. Get away from the dopamine. Sit with yourself for a little bit. And yes, it might be a little scary, but this is where all the progress comes. I promise you. The only reason I can tell you this is because I've done it. I know what it feels like. I know what it can do for you. I know who I used to be a couple years ago and who I am now. And it's pretty crazy how much I feel like I've changed. How much better I feel about myself. And I know you can do it as well. It just takes sitting with yourself. It just takes being okay, allowing feelings to come in. You can't keep on suppressing and repressing emotions. Emotions are running your life. Everything that you do is to feel a certain thing. The car that you want is to feel a certain way. The house that you want is so you can feel a certain way. Everything you do is for a feeling. So if you allow these negative feelings to run you, you'll never get what you want. You'll always self-sabotage before you get there. So don't be scared. Sit with yourself, be yourself, and be okay with yourself. I love you guys. And remember, greatness is already in you. Now let's just bring it out.